This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Today we are going to talk about Kenyan Aeronautics Information System Policy. And in this demonstration, we are going to look at a couple of things. My name is Stephen Kimani. Let's begin our topic of the day. So our main agenda for this topic will be, we'll be discussing a couple of things. And some of the things that we're going to discuss is about the network management and issues that comes along with when it comes to security policies. We'll talk about what solutions are we going to offer. We're going to look at the company overview and the policies objective and the things that are incorporated in this objective. Then we're going to talk about how do we apply security principles within the organization. And after that, we finalized by talking about the cryptography infrastructure. What are the tools that we can use to have some cryptographic use cases within the infrastructure. Then lastly, we talk about login access controls. What are the controls do we put in place or have we put in place as an organization to make sure that we are secure in reference to our agenda? So what do we have as a company overview and the policy that we are going to discuss? So in reference to the company overview and policies, we have the innovation as a leader, where we're talking about innovations to make sure that everything is secure, and since we're dealing with high risk environment, we talk about the make sure everything is safe, make sure everything is secure individually, machines, and also the planes are always secure. And the main objective is to protect confidentiality, integrity, and availability of assets. And that is the main objective. And so to say, for us to achieve this, we're going to look at the systems, network, and users in this specific topic that we're going to talk about. So when we talk about users as systems, networks, and users, let's look at some of the issues that may come around when it comes to policies, when it comes to security, and all that. So let's have an example of unauthorized access. How do you deal with unauthorized access? What are some of the things that you can achieve by can be done with unauthorized access? First, we talk about network access control list, or we have network segmentation. When we talk about access control list, we're talking about firewalls. Who do we have at the network level, at the application level, or at the entrance level, or what type of access do we have in reference to unauthorized access? The other thing is network segmentation. You can divide your network depending on how you want to access. Now, when it comes to a production environment, for example, production network, we have security network. We can segment our network depending on the either departments or the workload that's being carried out at any given point. Another issue that we can talk about is malware risk. In the recent past, there's this we've been witnessing a lot of malwares that comes along with either someone said a phishing expedition into your email and all that. So how do we deal with that? So we can talk about firewalls, and the firewalls talk about either the router firewall, or we talk about the individual machine firewall, and also we talk about the endpoint detection utilities. For example, at the network level, at the switch level, or at the router level, what type of measures do you put in place to achieve or to make sure that we are aware of what we have in terms of malware risks? We can talk about endpoint detections, or EDR, are also firewalls. So during COVID, we realized that so many people were working from home, and therefore remote work was the most became the thing of the day. And since then, some people are still working from home. So that is also a vulnerability that can be manipulated by some people in the world of security and infrastructure. So how do we make sure that for remote people who are working remotely, how do we make sure that we achieve what we can in terms of security? So we talk about VPN. VPN is one of the key things that that has been commonly being used in the recent past. However, some people have find a way of bypassing the VPN, and therefore, for us to have a more improved security, is that we add multi-factor authentication on top of the VPN, such that I may have either a token based or a software based multi-factor authentication, and people typically I've made use an example of let's say Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator or Sophos Authenticator, depending on what type of security that you're putting in place. And for us, we have several given the security. So how do we then apply the security principles from what we've discussed in the last couple of weeks? We've discussed a lot of security issues, security things, IPsec, BIPsec, and all that. So in this regard, we're talking about the CIA triad. And what is the CIA triad? This is C stands for confidentiality, where we're talking about encryption, access control. The I stands for integrity, hashing, changing of management, and hashing usually in terms of the when you're writing an email, how can you hash it to make sure that it goes to the intended individual. Then you have availability, and in the current market is that people are moving into cloud infrastructure, and therefore availability of resources is an essential aspect when referencing the to the user endpoint. And therefore, in our CIA triad, we talk about the availability, and this means talking about the backup and redundancy. Another security principle that we have is hardware. And this we're talking about the secure rooms, the server rooms, biometric access. Who has access to what? What level can they access? As much as they have access to the server room, what can they access inside the server room? Those are some of the principles that you can give. And I usually like to talk about the least privileges principle. You only get the permission or the access to what you need at the time you need it. If you don't need it at the time you need it, you do not have that permissions to do so. And therefore, the other one is software. Talk about patching management. What are the antivirus are you running in your system? Are they updated? When last did you do your patching? Who is involved in patching? What is the plan during the patching of your infrastructure of your servers? The other one is human. Is your team aware of the security within your organization? What are some of the trainings have they gone through to understand the security perspective? Awareness is one of the key things, because some people may not be aware that someone can send an email that is encrypted with a virus, and someone, you just click it, download it, and it just install. Some just opening a browser, that's it. That is just some of the key things that you talk about human in terms of the security principles. Awareness, security awareness of your team. So we also mentioned about the cryptographic protocols. Now, so many protocols are out there and different to do different things. But the most common ones, we have the SSL, TSL for data in transit and at rest. Sorry, for data on transit. We want to make sure that the data that comes from the source to the destination is secure, and therefore we need to add an SSL certificate to it to make sure that this data is secure in terms of in transit. We have also the ACS when we talk about data at rest. Once the data has been received and is stored, what type of protocol encryption do we put in place? Right now, we are talking about the AES 256. Some organization may be using AES 512 to have a more elaborate, a more in-depth security protocol or cryptographic protocol to secure their data. When we talk about an email, we talk about the SMIME for security of your email during the transition. Now, earlier we talked about the VPN encryption. We want to make sure that when we have a remote access to your infrastructure, whether are your workers or your suppliers or whoever is accessing your resources remotely must be secure. And therefore, we need to encrypt our VPN as time goes by. So for those encryption, let's see some of the use cases of those encryption. So we have the algorithm on the right, and then we have the use cases on the left. So we talk about the AES 256. So that those ones are file encryption. This is when data is at rest. Then we have the RSA for key exchanges, and then we have the ECC for device for mobile devices. And this is usually efficient, strong in low resource environment. So talking about low environment, we talk about the uh, login and access. So we talked about that we may have either local access where people are logging, coming into the organization, coming to your server room, coming to your offices. What type of access do you give? Does anyone have access to anything, or do they need a special access to access your infrastructure or your building? So they talk about password policies. What is the complexity of our infrastructure? Right now, we are talking about the 24 characters and types of the rotation after every 3 months, after every 90 days, and the password policy must not have a repeat of it. We also have smart card access or physical access. So for you to access our building, you need a physical card and also a physical ID to show who you are. And that is the other thing is biometricals, which you talk about face or a fingerprint. Then we have our MFA we talked about earlier, and also our SMS that your mobile phone is connected to the infrastructure or to the access that you are having. Every time you access, you need a token so that you can enter it into the system to identify that you are the person having the correct access. And lastly, we talk about login and auditing review and access attempts. How do we know that, or how do we improve the functionality of our access controls by reviewing the logs and also doing an audit? We see how many people did attempt to log in. What were they accessing or where were they coming from? That will help us to improve the security of our infrastructure. When closing, talk about the summary of our infrastructure is that we are committed to secure and innovate for future reference. So we're going to make sure that our security is very a top priority in terms of securing your the resources, equipments, our physical infrastructure, our physical building, and also the data that we process on a day-to-day on a day-to-day. And for more information, please you can send us an email at through security@kenyanaero.org. With that, we're going to have a discussion to this. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day.